That was a good clap. I could hear that really well.
Thank you.
What?
Thank you. Do you know what week this is?
It's a week late. We missed the podcast.
Do you know what day tomorrow is?
Hallowookie.
Yeah, and it's a theme for this week, so here it is.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Call Girls
Investment
Investment
Club
Podcast.
It's a spooky week on the stock market.
We're coming to you live from Los Angeles, which is
we're
many miles away
live
from Wallstreet, but that's okay.
We just get up earlier. But
yeah.
We're recording live, and then we're going to edit out all the dumb things we say so we sound smart.
Right.
Yay.
Okay.
This is the week. It was scary. I mean, actually, looking at the week, it's down, then up, then down, then up, then down.
That happened to me with Retrofin as well. Which, let me tell you, I've been following the stock for about a month now. I think I've got a good idea. Here's the thing. If you buy a stock that's high and you think it's going to go higher, and it goes down, and you keep telling yourself, okay, but eventually it'll rise up, and in the meantime it goes down and up and down and up, those are times when you can be making extra money because you can sell it when it's up, and then you can buy it when it's down, and then you can sell it when it's up, and you can buy it when it's down. And I'm not talking about day trading. I'm talking about one day it's an up day and one day it's a down day.
Okay, so I remember realizing this myself, and it's almost like an elevator. You can get on the ground floor and ride to the penthouse, but if it was an infinite elevator, if you get in and you ride up the floor and get out, and then it goes down and then it goes up, yeah, I mean, it adds up a lot more. You could go up miles instead of 5 floors.
So in this analogy, the elevators are stacked one on top of each other.
Yeah, that's a bad analogy.
It's not a great analogy.
But I know what you mean. It's like you could go up, if an elevator only goes 5 floors up, you could only go 5 floors up in one trip. But you could go 5 floors up and then get out and it goes down and then somebody else gets in and goes 5 floors up, and I don't really know. That's a terrible analogy.
It's not great.
I don't know where I'm going with that.
Okay.
So is Retrofin down for the week, though? Because
yes.
TQQ is significantly down for the week.
Retrofin is down for the week.
Okay, so
I'm still technically I'm still technically turned a profit since my initial starting point of $1,000, but now it's like, uh-oh.
Okay, so did you spend some of the money you made?
That was before this happened.
So are you still in a profit even subtracting the money you took out?
Yes, in fact, I would have lost more money had I not spent some.
Oh, well, there you go. What'd you buy?
I don't remember.
Do you know why the stock market went down?
It went down because I bought something.
It's because you thought, oh, I did. This does happen to me a lot, psychologically speaking. I'm winning. I'm going to spend some of the money. And then it always goes down right after I spend some of the money.
Well, have you ever thought about the fact that if you hadn't spent that money, then you would have lost more because that money would have been invested in the stuff that went down?
I would have lost out on the joy of the things I bought.
Yeah, but think of it this way. If you have $1,000 and you invest and you now have $1,050, if you spend 30 of those dollars, you've spent 30 of those dollars, and then the stock goes down and you're back down and you lose
You're just saying I cashed out a little.
Yeah, it's cashing out a little. There's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, I'm going to change the subject because I want to talk about if we're overbought or oversold. I told a bunch of people I thought it was possibly a good opportunity to buy today, and I have a hard time when I tell other people what to do, but
let me tell you this. I think Retrofin right now is the lowest it's going to go for a bit. I think it's not going lower than it is right now. I think it's going to go back up after a bit.
Why?
Because right now it's nearing the lower part of what it was this week, and I just get the feeling that it'll go up.
I did take a trading class in Chicago where they talked about they had these models, and basically they sort of had this theory that it was always being attracted to where the average was. A lot of people have that theory. So what you just expressed is exactly that. There's another here, let me show you. Kramer said it was oversold yesterday. And yesterday it went up. That was Thursday.
Right.
But then today it devastatingly crashed. So
what does overbought and oversold mean anyways?
So there's these things. Here, I printed them out. And we'll, for our podcast, we'll break these down one at a time and other episodes probably. There's this thing called the RSI where they do these mathematical equations and they come up with this graph. And it's like going along, up higher, higher, higher. Oh, it's overbought here when it's in the red. And then it's like oversold down here. It's not really in the green yet. Here's a different one. This is the MACD. Might have heard of these, maybe not. They do a different set. So you know how I created this thing called the machine, and I was just showing it to you before the podcast started because we're in this pattern, and I'm having a hard time interpreting it, but it doesn't seem to be signaling a big down, but I don't know.
Right.
It's like, okay, so I wanted to show you the level we're at because this is, I'm going to show you this chart. This is since the beginning of the year. So do you see something that used to be a ceiling that's now sort of like a floor on that chart?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, because look here, back in February, that was the peak. And then here, it dipped down to there and bounced off it. It dipped down there, and that's where we are again.
Right. So
we're almost there. I honestly, at the last peak, and it started going down. I thought, oh no, are we going to go down to this? This is the TQQQ. I was like, oh crap, are we going to go down to the 110 level? And I just kept holding on to the thing I have because it's super long term.
Right.
But I just kept thinking, is it really going to go down to 110? And here it is at 117 on Friday today. So the election's on Tuesday. Now, typically, every year there's an election. Typically, the election happens, and then the stock market goes up like crazy. And the reason that is because there's certainty. The uncertainty of who's going to run the country is gone, and we can now place our bets, you know? But the problem with this one is they're not going to have an answer on the day of the election because there's a whole bunch of states counting votes afterwards.
Yeah. So
it's sort of a setup to drag on for weeks.
Yeah.
So there's this other thing, Michael, and it's a little controversial. There's a document that was found on the internet that's basically a bunch of radical people talking about how they're going to disrupt business as usual after the election. They're going to block highways and mess with anybody in power, and they're basically protesting the election because they're calling it a coup if Donald Trump wins. But their document, which I read half of so far, is basically saying they're going to do this no matter who wins.
Right.
As a protest. So I suspect this is like the word of this is getting out. Also, there's this other word getting out that there's going to be another run on toilet paper and stuff like that, which I shared with my friends. And one of my friends said, isn't that a self-fulfilling prophecy? And it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. That's why I told her. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the word's already out, you know?
So you're just propagating it because you know it'll already be propagated.
Well, I'd rather have the toilet paper and the food and the... Oh, hold on.
Let me fish up my headphones. Okay.
So, getting back to this... Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Okay.
So, getting back to this chart, I feel like that could be a floor where there was a ceiling. It's happened many times before. It's not all the way down to that level, but it's really close. The election's coming, which is another reason it could go up. But there's this other thing that I want to talk about. It's my theory of the stock market has 4 cycles.
What are the 4 cycles?
It might sound familiar. I might have told you this. I've seen this with Tesla stock, and that's what taught me. There's like good news, and the stock market goes up. Then there's more good news, and the stock market stops going up. It's like people have had enough, and it just goes flat. And then there's some bad news, because there's always some bad news and some good news, right?
Right.
Then the stock market goes down. Then there's more bad news, and the stock market just stays flat because it's already exhausted all the selling. Then there's more good news, and it goes like that. there's these cycles. So here we are in a cycle of actually tons of good news came out this week. Shockingly, this was a really good news week. But everybody who is leading up to the election, it's political. So nobody on the Democrat side wants to publicize the good news, right? Because they want Donald Trump out. So a lot of the media is kind of on that side. So there's not been a lot of publicity about it. Likewise, on the stock market, there's been a lot of great earnings. But do you remember me predicting that there would be good earnings, but that the companies would not talk about the future? And that's why I thought the stock market would go up. They're not talking about the future, but they're coming out with these earnings that are incredible. So they're blowing away their earnings, but the stocks aren't going up because they're not really talking about the future.
Right.
Which is not exactly what I predicted. Oh, getting back to the oversold thing. The stochastics, the Williams, the RSI, these are all like these indicators that people watch to see if we're oversold. And you see how they're all getting down in the green?
Yeah, so I don't think you answered my question exactly. What does it mean for a stock that it's overbought or oversold?
So I think that what they mean is all the people who are going to sell it have already sold it. And so everybody's either waiting to buy it or just going to hold it. It's like you could give it, I think they're really talking about my 4 stages of the stock market. You can have bad news and it drives the stock down. Then you can have bad news and it just sits there. And I feel like, so basically this was a bad news week for the average common man. They're looking at the average common news articles and they're thinking this is a horrible week. So the number one headline all week, every day, there was a new headline about coronavirus is hitting new records. Coronavirus is taking off. Here's a chart. Daily new coronavirus cases in the U.S. So here's a headline from Thursday. U.S. reports more than 80,000 cases in one day. Anthony Fauci warns of a whole lot of pain. These are the kind of headlines we were getting every single day. Okay, so before I was preparing for this podcast, I thought, I know there's this Abbott test where you can do it in for $5 and you can get your results in 15 minutes. And I know they've been testing a lot more. And I thought, well, I wonder how the death rate's going. I couldn't find the death rate chart. And then I thought, well, I wonder how the testing is compared to the cases. Because if you test 100 people and you get 10 cases, that's different than if you test 10 people and get 10 cases.
Right.
So here's the chart on that. The brown part is all the testing that's going up, 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 up. So it's a slight rise percentage-wise, which might mean that, see, when they first came out with these tests here, everybody wanted to get tested, even if we got tested. Remember when we got tested, we were all sitting in the house this whole time. We haven't been in contact with other people, but we still got
I don't remember getting tested.
Oh, I didn't take you. Your blood order is still on the door. We haven't gone.
Right.
Okay, but me and Gaby got tested because everybody was getting tested because now the test was out, right?
Right.
So that's what this dip is. You've had a lot of negative people, not negative people, but people who are going to test negative getting the test. So the percentage was lower there. Now less people are getting tested unless they have symptoms. So now it's back up at about 5% of the people getting tested.
Right.
So the number is irrelevant. It's really irrelevant how many people have it because if you test more people, you get more cases.
Right.
So there's probably tons of people who have it that are not that sick.
I'm not trying to follow your logic. Are you saying that because we're testing less now, it makes sense for there to be more cases?
Okay. Let me explain. I don't know. Should I start over?
No, just clarify your point.
Okay. So to clarify, this is a chart showing the testing in the brown. Here's all the testing going up to 20% in the light brown. The dark brown on the bottom is how many people actually tested positive.
Right.
And the blue line is percentage positive tests to tests that were given.
Oh, okay, I see it now.
I apologize. I didn't make that very clear.
So at first,
just
when
look
they
at that
started
little
rolling
brown
it
line.
out, they were getting a high percentage of positive tests, but they were only testing it a little bit.
Yeah, they were testing the sickest people.
And then
they got the test available. Then everybody got tested. See that big first wave of tests? And then the percentage went down.
So your argument is that right now, the percentage of people who are testing positive is at an average. given how many people are testing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I think that the little bumps in this blue line showing the percentage, those little bumps are basically when more sick people are being tested, because there was the initial set of tests that were available, and now there's this Abbott test.
Right.
So like United Airlines is now going to test everybody on their flights just as a courtesy. They're going to pay for it.
Right.
And the NFL is playing games now because they can test. Actors are acting now because they can get tested. Gaby's been trying out for all these parts because they can just test the actors before they go to the set.
Right. Okay.
So basically, there's no reason we can't go back to business as usual right now with the Abbott test. Now, if we can test people and then they can go about their daily lives because they've been tested, I mean, then why couldn't restaurants open up with testing on the way in or something? Why couldn't, other things like that happen?
Right.
Which means the economy can come back. But
Right.
nobody's focused on that. They're just putting the number out there. How many daily cases have been diagnosed? That's kind of irrelevant.
Right.
So that was the headline every single day this week, driving the market down. And CNBC kept reporting, the market's way down because of the surge in coronavirus cases. Well, I get that because like places like Chicago have decided they're going to put new restrictions back on places like restaurants and bars. They just said, okay, as of Friday, which is today, you can only have 25% of your restaurant full. Well,
Right.
The problem with that is the way a restaurant works, you have to have it almost capacity all the time and get people through there and out the door. That's how they make their money, right?
Right.
So you can't run at 25% capacity and make a profit. So they're just going to close the restaurants.
Right.
It's Chicago. They can't eat outside. Do you know what it's like in Chicago this time of year, by the way?
No, I do not.
Snow, bitter cold, winter coats that you can hardly move your arms, ice cold freezing fork lifted to your lips. You can't eat outside at this time of year.
Hot chocolate's pretty good.
If you had heaters in Chicago and enclosures, then isn't that indoors?
Not technically.
I mean, like here, they'll set up heaters and stuff.
Not technically.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I felt like that headline was a misleading headline. That's what drove down the market every day this week, pretty much.
Yeah.
So there's this other thing that happened on Wednesday. Oh, so let me give you all the good news.
Okay, what's the good news?
Okay, on Monday, AstraZeneca came out and said they have proof that their vaccine works. On Tuesday, there were 4 or 5 companies reported earnings, and every single one of them beat the earnings that I looked up. Right. Usually when a company beats earnings, the stock goes way up. But I'm not sure how many of these offered guidance for the future. Wednesday, this major thing happened, actually. They had Twitter, Facebook, and Google executives all in front of the Senate Commerce Committee testifying about Section 230. Remember we talked about that? And they have this exemption where they can't be sued for being a publisher. And they're talking about like taking that away. And so the hearing was, half of it was about the way they blocked that New York Post story. Twitter blocked it particularly.
I have some mixed feelings on that because on the one hand, I feel like it should be the other way around where they aren't blocking anything.
That's what I think. I can't believe it. We agree.
And I feel like if you were to...
They shouldn't be in the business of blocking anything. They should just be a platform and still have the exemption.
But if the Senate rules that they shouldn't have an exemption, that just means, okay, YouTube and the internet as we know it basically stops working the same way.
Well, here's what happened like 2 or 3 years ago is when this started. And Congress was constantly harassing Facebook. Oh, that's fake news. Take it down. Oh, you can't be publishing that. And they kept arguing with them. And finally, Mark Zuckerberg gave in and started like interfering with what people posted and taking stuff down, right?
Right.
But I posted at the time, this is a huge mistake. If he gets into this business, it's a never-ending well of trauma. You know, he shouldn't be in that business. It's a mistake. And now he's already in it. So now what are they going to do?
Right.
So now I guess the only thing they can do is their best. Congress, when they interview these guys and yell at them, they never do anything. They just call them out in front of everybody, talk to them, and then they go back and they do their best. That's all they can do.
And most of the time when they try to call them out, they end up looking very silly because they don't actually know a lot about what they're talking about.
Oh my God. There's so many people in the House of Representatives that are really stupid about stuff. Like economics. I've been so shocked that these people are in office. But yeah, about technology, I'm sure you hear it. Well, you're thinking about something in particular, I can tell. Are you?
A little. I don't know.
Are you thinking about this week when somebody was yelling at the guy?
No, I'm just thinking back about the Mark Zuckerberg hearings way back.
That's what started this. And they were idiots. They were idiots to ask them to censor stuff. Because how can they make the decisions? It's their individual employees making the decisions.
Right.
So then if you get one guy who's a Democrat and one guy who's a Republican, they're going to take down different things, and then everyone's going to be mad.
Right.
So one of the senators... Here's the thing about Twitter, though. Twitter blocked the account of the New York Post. The New York Post is the oldest newspaper in the country. It was founded by Alexander Hamilton. And they did that article about Biden. It's a week before the election, and they did an article about Biden that was really relevant about him being on the take and being crooked. And Twitter wouldn't block their account, block the story. And then a couple of days later, they said, okay, we're going to allow the story. And then the New York Post account is blocked. And Twitter told them, we'll unblock your account, but you have to take the story down first. Which makes no sense, because they already said they were going to let the story circulate. But they're like telling the New York Post, we're still going to block your account until you take that story down. And the problem with that is they're still blocked.
Shit.
They're still blocked. So the New York Post is refusing to take the story down. And Twitter's like, well, no, you're not really blocked because all you have to do is take the story down.
That's not how that works, Twitter.
Twitter, you're assholes.
That's not how that works, Twitter.
Okay, so they had the head of Twitter up. His name is Mr. Dorsey. They had him on the stand, and this guy was really pissed. This guy named Ted Cruz. I got goosebumps because I'm mad at Twitter. Ted Cruz said, Mr. Dorsey, who the hell elected you and put you in charge of what the media are allowed to report and what American people are allowed to hear? And why do you persist in behaving as a Democratic super PAC, silencing views to the contrary of your political beliefs? That's pretty aggressive, wouldn't you say?
Very aggressive.
But if you've heard these hearings, these guys talk like this all the time. They ream everybody. So Cruz asked Dorsey if Twitter has the ability to influence elections, to which Dorsey answered no.
That's a lie.
And here's the other thing. This is 2020. This is the big tech hearings, right? 1994, the tobacco companies had hearings like this. I'm getting goosebumps again thinking about this. They had all the heads of all the tobacco companies like Philip Morris, and they were grilling them, and they were asking them, are cigarettes addicting? And they were like, no. Are cigarettes addicting, Michael?
They are.
Everybody knew that in 1994. It's the same with this. So that is like free speech problem. Anyway, I was going to tell you all the good news, and there were more good news things after Wednesday. The jobless numbers were way lower.
Ooh.
Yeah, more people going back to work. I'm sure it's this Abbott testing.
That's good to know.
And, here's what happened also. The gross domestic product, which is how they measure how productive all the companies in the U.S. are, exceeded expectations. It grew at 33%. So they measure it by quarter. So the quarter is July, August, September.
Right.
So between June and now, the gross domestic product increased 33%. Well, in the second quarter, which was April, May, June, it lost 31%. So we're basically right back where we were at the end of March.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's really good news. So how did all these good news pieces affect the market?
They did not.
Not at all. That's why we're in the stage where it's like good news and nobody's doing anything.
Yeah, everyone's waiting until after the election results come out.
Yeah, the problem is that's going to be weeks and weeks.
Yeah, well, the market's going to be on a standstill till then, pretty much.
So, like last week was the title of our podcast was Doldrums. That's what I gave it for a title. This is worse. This is
Doldrums 2,
This
Electric
is
Boogaloo.
spiraling. We should name it spiraling. Talking about psychology, I just want to say waiting is the hardest thing for me.
I forgot the stock market existed for a while, and then I have money invested in it.
You know what I did? I stopped reading all the market news because I couldn't take it anymore. I'm just waiting.
I was just like...
I played Animal Crossing.
That
I'm
helps.
just done. I just like
That
waiting.
helps. Yeah.
Jim
okay.
Cramer this morning actually said, so many people are fed up with the stock market. They're just like, to hell with the stock market. And he said, that's not how this works. Because actually, the most money you're going to make is when you buy when everyone's in this mood.
Right.
The only problem is, are we at the end of people being in this mood or at the beginning?
Yeah, and we don't know that.
I'm having trouble looking at my chart, knowing for sure. But I did tell all my followers to consider buying because there's only 2 days till the election. I mean, there are possible paths on the election. It could be so obvious that one of the candidates wins that there isn't the strife and fighting. And God, even Walmart took all their guns off their showroom floor because they're like, there's too much unrest. We don't want looters to get a hold of these guns. So they basically have taken all their guns off the showroom floors now.
Walmart sells guns?
A lot of people sell guns. We live in LA. The rest of the world, the rest of the U.S. is mostly living in the country. Okay, so there's different paths that the election could take, right?
Right.
Either it could be a big landslide for one of the candidates, and then there hopefully would not be the unrest that people are expecting. I think everybody's expecting unrest. Are you expecting like fighting, like riots?
Absolutely.
I mean, I read that article about the plan that these left-wing people have about disrupting everything. I read that. It's definitely a plan. They're planning it, and they have all these techniques they have planned, and they're talking about how to fly under the radar, what encryption to use on their messages to each other, and they're saying, oh, we don't want to harm anybody, but then the next paragraph is all about arming.
Next week, America splits in half.
Oh my God, next week our podcast will be after the election.
Oh no.
Anyway, the alternative is a fuzzy gray area where we don't know who won for days and days, right?
Right. That's the more likely alternative.
Okay, I feel like while we're waiting to get the outcome, it might be kind of peaceful while everyone's waiting. Or do you think it'll be chaos?
Who knows? I don't know.
Oh, geez. But I don't think the market's going to go up after the election until there's a sure winner. And even then, now I feel like it's going down because of the fear of unrest. So
who knows?
it could, yeah. Okay, I don't even know.
All right,
So
what are we talking about next?
Wait, are you afraid? Do you care about the stock market anymore?
I kind of do, but now I'm just like, well, it's not going up for a while. I'm just going to let it sit on the back burner in my brain for a bit.
Okay, well, let's talk about one more thing then. What if Trump wins by a landslide?
I don't know. I don't know how the stock market would react to that.
I think the stock market would go crazy up.
Right.
Even if there's unrest, I think it would get quashed and people would feel like it's a pro-business climate and there's going to be law and order.
I disagree. I think if Trump wins by a landslide, we'll see a lot. I think if Trump wins by a landslide, we'll see a bunch of people.
I'm not saying
who are demanding to make a new country, blackjack and hookers.
I'm telling you by a landslide, not by an incremental small amount.
Right.
And do you think those people all live in the same place that they can secede?
More or less. I mean, it's state by state, right?
Well, we're in the non-Trump state.
Yes.
So, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, some evidence for a possible Trump landslide. Have you seen the rallies for Biden that are completely full of Trump people chanting for Trump?
No, not really. I haven't seen that.
Oh. Have you seen the rallies that are in Beverly Hills where people are here in town? How many people are coming out?
I don't know.
It's hard to measure because all of Biden's events are car events where people drive through.
It's really hard to measure because no matter America is such a big country that no matter where you are, there's always a part of the country that you are completely unaware of. And in fact, that part is most of it.
That is definitely true of people in the city. The country's really big.
Well, even in the country, then you don't really know what the rest of you don't even really know what everyone in your state is going to vote for.
This is traditionally a very Democrat-oriented state. Traditionally, nobody even gives a shit about campaigning here because they all think, oh, they're just going to vote straight Democrat.
Right.
So Trump did Trump come here?
I don't think he did.
I know where he went. He went to the swing states where he already won last time, where they thought they'd be voting for Democrats, and he won them over last time.
Right.
Because they're borderline. Those are the important ones. Nobody's fighting over California.
I just want to take an opportunity here to restate that I'm neutral on the political spectrum. I think both Democrats and Republicans have points, and they should listen to each other more and stop calling each other idiots.
No, I think you're right. Hey,
I think the worst part, genuinely, I think that a lot of Republicans have really good ideas, but I think that the worst part is that instead of calmly talking out their ideas, they just call everyone who doesn't understand them stupid and libtards and all that stuff. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
I've done
You're
that.
just driving people away. You're just becoming the toxicity that they all think you are.
Yeah, you pointed out something else the other day. It was that once people align with one of the sides, then they start believing everything that side says.
Yes.
That's a problem.
I've seen it on the internet too. Like cancel culture is like that, where one person is the whistleblower on one person, and then all of a sudden everyone unites against them.
With no evidence.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to end with your catchy phrase that is a tip for trading stocks.
No, it was not. It was not a catchy phrase. It doesn't make any sense.
When you're up, it's a bup.
When you're up, it's bup. When you're down, you're a clown.
It's so true. Oh, I just
What do you
say,
mean it's so true?
Because when you make
the
money,
noise
everybody
Toad makes in Mario Party.
I just want to say, when you make money, everyone thinks you're brilliant. And then when you don't make money, they think you're an idiot.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you're brilliant or an idiot. It's just, if you ended up being lucky, people will think you're smart. If you end up being unlucky, people will think you're dumb or have a gambling problem or something.
Okay.
So let's hope that after the election, it's a bop.
That doesn't make any sense.
Damn, I'm not a millennial, I guess. Are you a millennial?
Bup isn't even a millennial thing. Bup is a Simple Flips thing.
Okay.
He spent 2 hours trying to BLJ the Thwomscott to get the star under the platform.
Gotta go. I just got...
No, don't joke about that.
What happens if you joke about it?
It summons
demons?
Demon, yes.
Damn it.
Do not include this. Cut this out.
Oh, that's terrible.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast where nothing bad happened and nobody said anything controversial. The end. Goodbye.
Bye.